So should you be chamfering the outside of your Schedule 40 PVC pipe before gluing it? And the right answer is, of course, yes. When you put a chamfer on the edge of the pipe, rather than push the glue into the fitting, it actually will help in distributing the glue and primer, which will give you a sound joint. Now, for a guy like me who does a lot of service and repair work, the truth is, I'm cutting 6-inch, 8-inch stubs. I'm extending a galvanized stub out. I'm converting to PVC, and I'm making small cuts, small pieces. I'm not doing a tremendous amount of PVC work. And I use a hacksaw, which I know a lot of guys poo-poo, but if it's done correctly, it works. Then I whip out my Leatherman tool, I deburr the inside, scrape off the outside, and basically that's my process. But there are tools out there in the market that are supposed to make this easier. And what I did was I went out and I bought 3 of them. Now, this is not a sponsored video at all. I bought 3 products by Reed that are readily available, and there are a lot of videos on YouTube about them, but I wanted to purchase them for myself and actually see if they do the job. So the first tool we're going to be looking at is the DEB4, which is a manual chamfering tool, and it does from 1.5 inch up to 4-inch pipe, and it'll put a 15-degree bevel on the outside edge. Second tool we're going to be looking at is the DEB2, which will put a chamfer on the outside and inside of the pipe. You can deburr both outside and inside. And finally, we're going to be looking at the PDEB250, which you can put in your power drill, and that'll do both the inside and outside. So we're going to see if these work. I would say to you, if you're a guy in new construction, doing new homes and putting up a lot of PVC pipe, I would imagine tools like these are going to be essential. For a guy like me, I don't know. That's why I purchased them. We're going to see what happens. We're going to go down on the bench. We're going to do some manual cuts. We'll do some power cuts. I actually went out and sprung for my Milwaukee M12 PVC cutter, which was one of the greatest purchases I ever made. And we'll see what these tools can do. And then at the end of the video, you can decide for yourself whether or not you might consider purchasing them, or you might just say, hey, I'm good the way it is. So stick around. I'll be right back. All right, guys, so before we get into the deburring process, I just wanted to go over how I cut PVC pipe, 3 different methods I use. Now, honestly, on a daily basis, I'm under kitchen sinks, bathroom sinks, I'm doing stub outs, I'm extending nipples, etc. And frankly, I use my Lennox hacksaw. Very simple, very easy. Now, a lot of guys poo-poo the hacksaw, but if it's done correctly, you can get a pretty decent cut. Then I take out my super tool, I deburr the inside, the outside of the pipe, I'm done. If I'm doing any sizable amount of, let's say, 2-inch PVC, I will go and get my PVC saw. I also use this on 3-inch and 4-inch PVC, and it's necessary to have. And the last tool I use, if I'm doing maybe a roughing a bathroom out or I'm roughing a kitchen, I go out and I get my M12, my Milwaukee M12 PVC cutting tool, which is a great tool. So we're going to go over to my Rigid 400 over here. It's mounted on my table here. I'm going to use it as a vise. We'll put some PVC pipe in there. We're going to cut it with a hacksaw. We'll cut it with the PVC saw. We will cut it with the M12 power tool. We'll see what it can do. Then we'll get into the deburring process and see if each one of these 3 tools that I'm going to feature in this video do what they say they can do. All right, guys, I'm going to show you my method now for cutting PVC pipe in my daily routine. Now, my daily routine is service and repair, so I'm making little stub out cuts. I'm extending pieces coming out of the wall. I'm not doing a great amount of PVC. So I use a hacksaw. And I know a lot of guys poo-poo the hacksaw idea, but hey, that's what I do. It works for me. I'll show you my method on how I do it. And basically, it's not brain surgery. So you want to make sure you start off with a square end of pipe. If you start off with a crooked end, you're going to end up with a crooked end. So the one I have in the vise here is relatively straight, but you get the idea. You want to start square. You have a chop saw. You want to put it up against the fence, chop it off. You get a nice square cut, and that's where you can start. But for me, as I said, I'm cutting small pieces day in, day out. And, I don't have the luxury or the need to carry a chop saw around with me. Anyway, so what I do is basically I put a pencil mark, because I can tell you if you try to cut through PVC with a hacksaw without giving yourself a guide, it's going to come out crooked unless you're incredibly steady and incredibly skilled. I'm not incredibly skilled, I guess. So I'm going to mark and I'm going to make reference marks here so I can follow it with my blade. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can connect the dots, you can make dots, you can make dashes, whatever floats your boat. Then I'm going to get my PVC saw. I'm sorry, my hacksaw. See, I'm getting all discombobulated, guys. Anyway, with a hacksaw, because you have very fine blade on here, when you're trying to do it in a forward position, you're cutting away from yourself. I find that with PVC, you get this jumpy chatter thing going on. So I'd rather cut with the teeth coming up towards me. So I'm cutting on the upstroke, if you will. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna bury the teeth, so to speak. I'm gonna bury the teeth so I can't see them. And then I'm gonna rotate it. So as I'm doing this, I'm rotating the pipe, and you want to make sure you stay within that groove. So you're rotating it, lose the teeth, rotate it, lose the teeth, rotate it, and it makes a mess, but hey, welcome to the world of PVC. Rotate it, and what you want to do is give yourself a groove. And what that groove is going to do is it's going to allow the hacksaw to guide itself through the PVC without it veering off, thereby giving you a relatively straight cut. And I have this vise a little looser than I'd like it to be, but anyway, so there you go. So now I got a groove all the way around the pipe. And now I'm just going to tighten this up. Now I'm going to flip the hacksaw around. And I am going to proceed to make my cut. And as you can see, that's a relatively clean cut. Now that blade in there is 24 teeth per inch, which is the general purpose blade, which I always use. Not a lot of cleaning up to do. I'll come in here either with my Leatherman tool with a sharp, my regular Leatherman tool has a really sharp edge on it. Or I'll come in here with my file. I have a combination rounded and flat file. So if I'm going to use my file, I'm going to come in here around the outer edge and put a nice little bevel. Then I'll take the rounded part of the file and go around the inside of the pipe and deburr the pipe. So that's how I do it with a hacksaw. At this point, as far as I'm concerned, I'm ready for glue and primer, and I'll glue up my joint. Now, if you want to do it with a PVC saw, same thing. Now, I know a lot of you are going, oh, you got to waste the time and make marks around. That's for apprentices. Hey, listen, you know what? Whatever works for you works, and that's what you should do. Don't do as I do. I'm just showing you what I do. And if this works for you, even better. It may make your life easy. You never know. You have to try. So again, do you have to connect the pencil marks? Not really, but you have to give yourself a reference, somewhat of a reference. And for all you trolls out there that are telling me I'm missing the mark, go watch another channel. So I got my mark around there, same thing. So I'm going to take the PVC saw, which has got aggressive teeth on it, and it makes a mess. So I'm going to lose the teeth. I'm going to lose the teeth, and I'm going to rotate. I'm going to lose the teeth, and I'm going to rotate. Looking to get my groove in there to give my saw a guide. And then I'll bump this up and proceed to cut through. What a mess. There you go. There's that piece, and you can see it's a little bit more aggressive. Again, the file, the rounded part of the file, I'll do the inside. Or, again, this is my Leatherman tool. This is my shop Leatherman tool. This needs to be sharpened. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm ready for glue and primer. And finally, my Milwaukee M12 power cutter. I'm going to use that tool if I'm doing, maybe I'm roughing a bathroom, roughing a kitchen, or I'm doing a substantial amount of PVC pipe. Let me just back up before I show you that. Let me just say that I'm going to use this, you know, on the larger pipe, 3-inch, 4-inch pipe. I'm going to use a PVC saw. I'm not going to use my hacksaw. Although I have used a hacksaw in a pinch. And as long as I put my line in there and make my groove, it does the trick. But for larger diameter pipe, I'd say anything above 2-inch, you want to use a PVC saw. Now, if you're a professional and you want an easy way of doing things and you want to invest some bucks, you go out and get this Milwaukee tool. Now, let me just say that on 3/4 and 2-inch fittings, the socket is approximately 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4 and 3/4. If you wanted to butt two fittings up against one another, that's an 1.5 piece. So we'll do an 1.5 piece. Let me say this about that power tool. It's my opinion that on larger pieces, I'd say anything 8 inches, 10 inches and above, it does a magnificent job of making a square cut. When you're trying to cut off these small little stub pieces, I have found that it will veer off. So I'm not going to make the mark. There's no need to make the mark in this case. I just want to put a mark here. I have found that it will veer off if you're not careful. So I just want to make you aware of that. I've had cases where I tried to cut that piece off and it actually cracked. So this is the tool. This button has to be depressed, otherwise you can't, the trigger won't pull. Here's a release button for the blade over here. And we're going to open the blade. You have a forward reverse button here. And you have to actually keep this depressed while you attempt to operate the tool. And I usually do this with one hand, but in this case, I'm going to do it with two hands. So you're going to come in and you want to line up your blade with the mark. And with my right hand, I'm going to depress the safety. With my left hand, I will depress the trigger. And there you go. That easy. And as you can see, it's crooked. Okay. Now there are ways you can kind of try to fix that. What I'll try to do is, I'll see if I can do that here. I will try to I'll start a cut, then I reverse it. Then I will turn this. And I will try to continue. And I find that it somewhat does a better job. But as you can see, this is still not absolutely straight. But anyway, as far as the rough edges go, there are no rough edges. So with that in mind, guys, this is the way I cut PVC pipe. You have choices. Whatever you like, you can do. So with all this said, we're going to jump into these deburring tools and see what they can do. See if they live up to the standards they claim, and see if they're going to be worth you spending your hard-earned money, you know, to go out and get them when you could probably do it with a file. Stand by. All right, guys, so the first of these tools, we'll take a look at this DEB2. Now, this is a hand reamer. It's a cone-shaped reamer. And they claim you can do the inside and the outside. I'm just going to pop it out of the cover here. And I don't know, I have my doubts, but there it is. It's the cone shape. You can see that. And this is the piece I just cut with the M12 cutter. So let's try to do the inside. Let's give it a little deburr, if you will. And with the outside. I don't know if you can hear this, but it's chattering. And honestly, I already made my decision. I think this is ridiculous, personally. It makes a terrible, terrible, terrible cut. It's all jagged. And I don't care which direction you go in, but frankly, I would rather use my my file to do this. And I just want to see how well this fitting goes in here. Does it go all the way up? No, I still have about 1/4 of an inch for this pipe to go in here. So as far as dry fitting it, I don't know. That's my experience. I don't know. You guys have any opinions either way about these little hand deburring tools? Now, I purchased this damn thing, and this doesn't make me very happy because I'm probably never going to use it. That's horrible. That is strictly, I mean, that is, look at that jagged edge on there. That is horrible, horrible, horrible. So as far as I'm concerned, you can take that DEB2 and you know what to do with it. Just my opinion, guys. So let me go get my DEB4. All right, now you're looking at the DEB4, and this goes from 1 1/4 inch up to 4-inch pipe. And let's see what we can do. Now this only does the outside of the pipe. This doesn't do the inside of the pipe, and that's cool. You know, I mean, I can come in here. I can come in here and do a relatively nice little scraping in the inside, and I'm happy. Let's see what it does with the outside. Let's see what kind of a bevel this puts on it. Now, it's spring-loaded, so it has a tendency of staying on here. I don't know if you can see this. You see that little... So you can go back and forth. The blade supposedly cuts a 15-degree bevel. I don't know if you can see the shavings coming out there. And you can push on it pretty hard. And like I said, it's kind of spring-loaded, if you will. So with that said, that looks like a nice smooth bevel. It's got a nice smooth bevel on it. And I just want to see, because they claim when you bevel it, it goes in easier, you can dry fit everything, but let's see. It's a little better. I still have about 1/8 of an inch left to go in, so I don't know about dry fitting it completely, but it certainly does a nicer job than the DEB2. Let me get a piece of 2-inch here. Piece of 2-inch. That's cut crooked, but that's okay. Let's see if we can do this. You see that little, see the way it's cut in there? So it puts a nice bevel on there. I just don't know, you know, how well you're going to be able to dry fit the your fittings. So it's got a nice little bevel on it. Am I able to get this in all the way? You know what? I got to tell you, this went in almost. You really can't see it from there, but this, I got to tell you, this went in most of the way. I don't know if you can see in there, but the pipe did go in most of the way. So I am going to give a kudos or a thumbs up to this DEB4. I will say it did a good job. Let me get another piece of pipe. So here's a piece without a bevel on it. And naturally, you know, I mean, I'm lucky I can get it halfway in there. So let's put the bevel on it. and you can push on it. And as you can see it cutting. You see that? It's cutting a precise 15-degree bevel. And I gotta tell you, it's a beautiful smooth cut. And I think I'm gonna be very happy with this tool. This tool I think I'm gonna keep with me. That a very precise 15-degree bevel. And let's see if this goes in further. That absolutely goes in all the way. That pipe is in all the way. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little hard for me to, but that pipe is in all the way. I like it, guys. I like it very much. Let me try the next tool here, which I have to go get my drill. So give me a second. I'll be back with my drill, and then I'll get a piece of 3-inch pipe and show you what that DEB4 can do. So I will be right back. So, and finally, we're going to be looking at the PDEB250. And I will tell you, you got to use caution with this tool. You put it in your drill, you set your drill on low speed, and you go in very, very slow, very, very steady. If you put this on full speed, you're going to destroy the pipe. So check this out. Now we'll do the outside. Again, very slow speed. Don't go in there gangbusters, because you'll get a terrible edge. And make sure your drill is set up on drill and not hammer. And that is all the way in. That joint is all the way in. Let me see if I can get this out and show you. I don't know if you can take a look in there and see that, but that's all the way in. So it works well. I think you have to use caution. I'm just going to show you what happens if you go in there gangbusters. Actually, this is what happens if you go in gangbusters. I did this on the other end. You see how terribly shattered and distorted this became? That's because I went in there at high speed. Let me show you. So I'm going to go in here full speed. Watch. Destroys the pipe. That's the outside. Well, it destroys it or puts an aggressive bevel on it, depending upon how you look at it. Here's the inside of the pipe. I don't know. You tell me. You happy with the way that looks? I find that if I go in there at a slower speed, I get a smoother transition. And because it's all chattered and beat up, it actually doesn't sit in there all the way. So again, the approach should be slow and steady. Steady forward pressure. Steady forward pressure, but nice and slow. And that most certainly is in there all the way. Trust me, guys, it's in there. So these are your three options to putting a bevel on the pipe. I mean, personally, I already got my pick. I'm going to grab that DEB4 that's going in my tool pal. This will do up to 2.5-inch pipe. I don't really deal with 2.5-inch pipe, but it will do. This will do. It'll do PE, PVC, c.p.v.c, PEX, a.b.s, and PP. So that's polypropylene. The DEB4, which is going in my tool pal, will do PVC, c.p.v.c, a.b.s, and PP. And this, in my opinion, piece of garbage is going in the garbage, but they claim it'll do a quick deburr of the outside or inside of PVC, c.p.v.c, PE, a.b.s, and PP. But as you witnessed, this to me is useless. I guess I can use it for a paperweight. Real quick, let me just take my DEB4 over to a piece of 3-inch PVC and show you how to put a bevel on a larger size piece of pipe. Not bad and not too messy. So if you're doing a lot of 3-inch pipe, a lot of 4-inch pipe, I'm sure you could sit this down on the ground and like step on one end and just put your pipe in there and to put a little weight on it and then just turn it once you make that square cut. But for my money, this is the best one out of the three. Now there are many other out there on the market that I didn't feature in this video, but these are three of the most popular. And yeah, so what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your comments down below. DEB4, that's going in my tool bucket. So guys, what are you thinking? For my money, this DEB4 is going in my PVC tool pal. Makes a nice 15-degree bevel on the outside of the pipe. Slips into the socket fine. Just bear in mind, guys, if you don't put a bevel on it and you just cut it straight, you're going to be pushing the glue and the primer right inside the fitting. That's not the way to do things. This is easy. It's simple. Doesn't take up a lot of room. Although it only does the outside edge, you know what? The inside edge I take care of with my super tool and my knife blade, and I deburr the inside. As far as this DEB tool goes, Reed, I think you better rethink your design. And I tell you, I think it's terrible. Not a good iteration of a deburring tool, in my opinion. And finally, for this PDEB 250, if you're going to be doing a large amount of PVC cutting, and you got a vise set up where you can set the pipe in a vise, put this into your drill, slow and steady, low speed, slow and steady in. Then you could flip it around, slow and steady on the outside. You'll get a decent bevel. It'll get the job done. Now, Reed claims you can even use this as a hand reamer. But as you can see, as you can see what this thing did, it kind of chatters, So unless you're up to a decent speed, I think these or this for sure is a waste. This could work if you're coming in at the right speed with your drill. High speed's going to destroy the inside and the outside edge of the pipe. That's just my opinion. So guys, I came up with this idea. I think I found out what this DEB2 is good for. Grating some good Parmigiano Reggiano cheese over your favorite pasta. What do you think? Reed, you could remanufacture this thing or rebrand it as a cheese grater because it does absolutely nothing on PVC pipe. Anyway, guys, out of these three tools, this is the worst in my opinion. And as I said, I'm probably going to use this for a paperweight or a cheese grater. The DEB4 is my choice. That's going in my PVC toolbox. And the DEB 250, I would say if you're doing a sizable amount of PVC, you got a vise available, and you can set it up right. You get your drill, slow and steady. You can do the inside, you can do the outside. I think that's going to work fine. Now that particular tool and the DEB4 have replaceable blades, which makes a nice touch. And that's it, guys. There are many of these tools out on the market, way more than I featured in this video. But these are three of the most popular ones. I kind of went on YouTube and took a look around. What are you guys thinking? Are you guys beveling your pipe? Are you guys not beveling your pipe? Are you using a file? What seems to be the deal with everybody out there, you know, putting their eyeballs on this particular video? Leave your comments down below. And if anybody's interested in these tools, I'll leave links down below along with some links for the Milwaukee tools that I featured in this video. Folks, I want to thank you for stopping by. I always appreciate you coming by the channel and watching my videos. If you're not already subscribed, I highly recommend you subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I post a new video. Also, don't forget to keep an eye out for one of these two videos that are going to pop up here to your right. One of them I chose, one of them YouTube thought you might like to see. Folks, I want to thank you once again for stopping by. Always appreciate it. I'm honored you're here. Stay well. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. And as always, happy plumbing.